Good day to you and welcome, I'm Mecharization, and today I'm going to talk about the new Hearthstone expansion, because it is good and bad in some ways. So, let's start with the good things. Good things. Some cards are really amazing, and I'm not talking about the quest cards, I'm talking about general cards in here. The new Adept thing is really nice, however, it has also a problem, to which I'll get afterwards. The new battle cries add more stuff to your hand. Usually it is somewhat powerful and it partially goes against towards the late game, because you get more cards, you discover more cards, you get more cards to your deck. So it was maybe partially an idea behind getting more cards so that Jade Druid is not so powerful later on. Also, you have Tolvir Warden, which is the opposite, draw more cards, but hey, that's only Hunter. And once again, draw a card, get more cards, get more cards. In general, you discover and get a lot more cards. And that is nice. However, there are issues. And these issues, I think, will in long term. Right now we're in the stage where we actually enjoy everything. Every new card, every card is new, everything is fresh, and people are somewhat experimenting with all the different decks and all the different possibilities. This is a nice example. Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion twice, adapt twice. Now that is great with death rattles, such as the new egg. Do I have it? Oh, I do not have the new egg. Devilsaur egg, yes. It is very nice with it and some other death rattle minions. This is a great anti-aggro or anti-warrior or anti-paladin tool. Also works against rogues somewhat. It should have worked against rogue. The problem is that it doesn't because of new rogue. However, let's get to the issues. So, one of the big issues are the quests. The quests sound extremely well, and it's a great thing for seasoned players, because you have to build your deck around it partially, you have to compromise somewhat, but it is a thing that actually sets a deck in a somewhat different motion. And this is just one thing. So for example, I'll show you the priest one. Summon 7 death rattle minions, so everyone knows that there's gonna be death rattle minions, and you can actually do it even with somewhat basic death rattle minions. However, there are gonna be death rattle minions, and everyone has this option to include different ones, opt for slightly different ones based on what they have, what they do not have, and that is nice. It's a card around which you have a lot of freedom to play. Yet there are some which are not such great, such as the new mage one. Cast 6 spells that didn't start in your deck. And you get a time warp, which is get a new turn for 5 mana. 5 or 6 mana. I'm not sure. However, there is a big problem with this. This means that the new mage, which has actually been I'm gonna call it the new freeze mage actually. It is a 2-turn kill. Usually 2-turn kills suck, however, when you can skip your opponent's turn, then 2-turn kill is pretty nice. So you can actually do unlimited damage right now with this, and if you include Antonidas, your apprentices, and Molten Reflection, so you actually get fireballs for free and you have unlimited factory of fireballs. That is very much like a freeze mage. It is very much like a freeze mage. The problem is that freeze mage, for example, had this weakness in somewhat in Control Warrior. If Control Warrior got enough armor, freeze mage just was not able to kill it. The amount of armor right now doesn't matter because you have unlimited damage, and I somewhat counted that one animation for Fireball takes approximately 3 seconds, so usually to kill a priest at 40 HP requires something like 35 seconds, 36 seconds. That is okay. If you want to survive this, you need to have over 100 and more than 120, 130 HP in order to survive the turn itself. And that was possible in the past somewhat. I actually got sometimes to like 100, 110 with Warrior. But right now it is impossible. It is definitely impossible. So once this gets rolling, we probably found our King of Control deck. That's probably it. There is of course a way around it, and I'll get to this way around it a bit later, because there is another quest which I kind of hate, and that's a rogue one. Play 4 minions with the same name, reward Crystal Core. Now Crystal Core is a 5 mana spell which makes all your minions 5/5s. Of course, that sounds powerful, yes, and playing 4 minions also sounds difficult, but it's actually not. Simply because you can play something, you can play some 1-drop or 2-drop, return, I want to return. Why don't you work? Return. And all standard cards now have some return cards. So for example, there's Shadow Step, there is Gadgets and Ferryman, finally, Ferryman is good, and also we have Brewmaster. So actually getting one card, if it can be like a charging boar 4 times into play, is not that difficult. And what very often happens is that they are, as a rogue players, I actually have never managed to do it, they are able to turn this on turn 4, turn 5, manage the quest, and turn 6 you're dead. Sometimes if they manage turn 5, and they haven't played a pirate, they have patches in their deck, it might actually lead towards what was the name? Preparation into this card, which means that they have 3 mana left, and they can go like one pirate, preferably the charge one, boars, and maybe Shadow Step a boar, and that's actually 25 damage turn 5, which is more aggressive than Pirate Warrior. The problem with this is, in the end, it's not a control deck. It is an aggressive mid-range. Let me just check this. It is an aggressive mid-range, very aggressive mid-range, where if you're lucky as a rogue you might win turn 5, turn 6. If you're unlucky, or if you're like mediocre lucky, you get turn 7, turn 8. If you're kind of unlucky, you sometimes get turn 10. Of course, you might not be able to trigger it every single time, but it is very effective because all your minions are 5/5s, and there are only 2 classes right now have AoEs that actually effectively deal such a high amount of damage, meaning 5. And even as a priest, you really need 2 Dragonfires to kill it, and you need them afterwards to be a bit unlucky with the draws. That's the problem with this. However, there is a counter to it, of course. The counter is called Dirty Red, which I do not have in my collection, and that's one of the problems. Dirty Red, an epic where your opponent summons a random minion from their hand. If you are able to summon a random pirate or something like that from their hand and kill it, it works extremely well. It works very well against the mage, once again, because if you are able to actually summon Antonidas, they're gone. If you're able to summon the Sorcerer's Apprentice, they're gone. And kill it, of course. They are gone afterwards. And that is how it works. Yet, there is this big problem. And the big problem is gonna be called new player experience once again. For a very simple reason. All the important cards, such as, Dirty Red plays against these cards, it's an epic. All the new important cards, meaning the quest ones, are legendaries. And every single mage that you can play right now is effectively less powerful than the Open the Waygate Mage. Every single priest that does not play this and is not Cthulhu, and actually Cthulhu priests die extremely well to all the Death Rail minions, such as the Crystalline Oracle, then you are in a weaker position. And my god, the warriors. As a warrior, it is pretty easy for you to play 7 tones, because warrior got a new pretty good ones, such as this one, or such as this one, or such as this one. Those are actually pretty good tones, and even if you are able to finish your quest half a game or less, somewhat later on, you still can change your hero power to become Ragnaros, so you deal 8 damage to a random opponent. It is very viable against everything but Paladin. And that is a big problem, because this makes every single warrior more powerful than the previous ones. If you have just one card, you get a huge difference in power, a huge one. For warlocks, of course, this is like a flavor one. There are no discard locks, so this is okay. For shamans get murlocs, so there are non-murloc shamans. There are actually elemental shamans. However, they lose a lot to taunt warriors, to those rogues. There is the possibility for them to be the mage if they are kind of lucky. And as a player with priest, I have dealt with them amazingly well, meaning that the first 6 ones had no chance, and then the only out of 7 shamans, only the Murloc one actually killed me. And that was partially because I was really unlucky with my draw and just couldn't finish the quest by turn 9. Paladins, buffing hands, not everyone wants to buff stuff. This is important. This is an interesting card. Play 7 1-cost minions. Now this is something that people have been trying to play as aggressive decks. However, I firmly believe that if there weren't mage, this could be very powerful mid to late game deck, because your goal more or less would be to fill your deck not early on, but actually later on, with like when you have like 5, maybe 8 cards left, and you go up to 23 and you draw a card like mad. That could work, and with Dynamancy that could work extremely well, and with Stampede of course. And the Druid one, yes, a lot of ways to play around it. This actually makes all legendary decks a lot more viable and a lot more fun. Also with this single card, it's not all legendaries then, but it makes it a lot better. And this means that all the really good legendary cards, let's take a look at them. Legendary cards, which are more or less always the quests, are outside of range of the new player, or actually even casual players. Like this is an interesting card. This is an interesting card. This is a must-have in, if you don't go Murlocs, this is more or less a must-have in Elemental 1. There is another discard. This is a really powerful one. And in here we have somewhat bad minions in the end. However, at least if you're playing control decks, this is one of the cards you want to have. And without it, you are effectively worse than you were before. Also, the new epics, the new rares, epic elementals. If we take a look at epic, this is important. This might be important later on when the meta shifts. This is a really good taunt. This is an amazing elemental, without which you're actually a lot weaker as an elemental anything. So this is in general a problem, and seasoned players might seasoned players might not, once again primarily interested in this. However, casual players who actually play less than, let's say, every 2-3 days with their just to finish dailies, get some gold, these people will have problem to actually finish, get anything new in here and actually finish any of the decks. And the previous option, which I always tried and actually was trying to push a bit, is like all basic deck or all common deck, or like let's make a deck with only one or two rares. Right now it will be impossible to get with this deck over rank 18. And that is mostly because at rank 18 more or less every single player has the quests, and there's a lot of players who are non-seasoned, who are actually seasoned and just don't play a lot, or who have saved a lot of gold and a lot of dust, and they're not playing enough to actually go forward to, because in order to get to rank 10, even if you're a good player, you need to spend like 1 day usually. Well, 1 day of streaming, which is like 8-10 hours maybe. Simply because you might get unlucky. Simply because you might have matchups or you experiment with decks. So that makes it more difficult once again for newer and for casual players to have this feeling of accomplishment. And the new player experience will be worse in this than before. Also, all of this means one thing. Quests will not be in the arena, we have already heard about it. However, there is a big problem between the power difference between these cards and the cards in the previous sets. Rogue is kind of okay, some of the cards are actually bad. This is a really good 3-drop with a interesting battle cry. This is a kind of nice 1-drop. Mage can actually have this as a common, so more like factory style to mage. Draw a secret, which is always nice. And in terms of common cards, oh my god, this is kinda good in the arena. This is really good if you're not playing against the priest who steals it. This is amazing. I actually had a deck with 4 of these and no one can deal with it properly. This giant wasp, cool. And rock is very strong. This is surprisingly strong. And also, so everything, if you get older cards, let me show you an example. An example might be the taunt. It's a 3-cost. Ooh. Where is it? Where is the 3-cost taunt? Is it rare? It might be rare. Oh yeah, here it is. This is a 3-cost rare. It's a common, so it's actually on par with stuff like the other. Let me just set to all standard. So we have this card, 1/4 taunt, which is actually on par with, what's his name, the gorilla. Where's the gorilla? Is it like silverback something? I believe it is a silverback something. Oh, I don't see him. Okay, sorry for that. This one. So there is a 1/4 taunt also viable right now, but it don't have a discover taunt minion. So you can actually, one player actually can get an option of the other one, and one player can get an option of this. It has always been around. Some people got Magma Rager, some people got Ice Rager or these things, but the scissors are once again getting, like, the difference between the bad deck and the good deck is based a lot around, do you have the new cards and do you have the old cards. Some of the old cards are good, some of the old cards have just a better version now, and this is significantly better. And a good example from what I saw today might be actually the Paladin, because Vine Cleaver is a really good weapon. In combination with Dino Size, it's an amazing weapon. Anything in combination with Dino Size is an amazing weapon. My roommate just today finished a 12-1 run with 3 Dino Sizes. Usually it would be really bad because Dino Size, because you have 3 8 drops. He also had the Wine Cleaver. He also had some other 7 drops and 6 drops, and usually it would be really heavy, but it wasn't. Why? Because it's a Dino Size, and if you have any minion on board, it is effective this turn. It is actually more powerful than Pyroblast. It is actually one of the most powerful spells in Arena, and I'm glad that it's epic. However, there is another card which is very problematic, and I present to you a rare which is called Give Minion +2/+6. When we compare it to the Priest card, which was I believe for 5 mana, Give Minion +2/+6. Okay, similar gain in stats, similar cost. Yet for 1 cost extra, 1 extra mana, you get a Stegodon. You give it a taunt, and you get a Stegodon when it dies. Stegodon is a 2/6 taunt. This is insanely overpowered. Insanely overpowered. And getting a silence right now is more difficult than ever before. So that's a problem. That's a major problem. And there are actually, I think that in the game there are 3 silences right now. Let's check. Let's check how many silences can we now get in the arena. Oh, sorry. Yes, 3 silences for these ones. Of course, Priest has more, Druid has 1 extra, Shaman has 1 extra. But we have 3 silences that work against it. One of them is epic, 2 of them are commons, but you have lower chance of getting them because there is a new set. So the only more or less there are like 2 other things that work against it, and one of them is Sap and another one is Polymorph. And what do you do with this? That is a major problem. So there is definitely, once again, a big power creep. It is a power creep on the level of World of Warcraft style power creep, where at each expansion, when you have the best set from the previous expansion, in the first few hours you find gear which is on par with it, and once you reach to first dungeons, you find out that the gear that you have previously worked on half a year or even more is right now shit. Because everything is doubled again, and doubled and doubled and doubled, and at vanilla World of Warcraft you had stuff which had like +200 spell damage, and you were like, wow, that's really good, that's amazing. And then you had a +600 spell damage and +1200 spell damage, and it started to grow ridiculously, to the point where, like, an easy example, let's say, dealing a pyroblast for 10,000 was amazing, and everyone was dead because everyone had 10,000 health. Even like really good tanks had maybe 12,000. And then the next one, well, everyone got up to like 30, 40. The pyroblast was to 30,000. So it wasn't one turn kill, or it was in some cases, but still the power grew and the health grew also, so the difference grew more. And that's the problem in here. That's the problem we're getting now. It seems like we have some guys from World of Warcraft who are this Blizzard style of adding new expansions. So instead of actually balancing the game, they are pushing towards buy more new packs because you have to. But in terms of the arena, it makes the arena shitty. So what's good about the new expansion? Well, the adapt thing, which is a nice addition. However, it also once again adds some randomness to the game, some more randomness to the game. The quests are good for seasoned players. However, once again, a randomness based on the elementary RNG of card games, meaning card draw, is more significant than before. Yet, sometimes, only sometimes, but very often. And people are experimenting. It's the beginning of the season and people start to experiment. Yet I have to point out that day 2 I already noticed, but net decking at day 2. Some people are just, I understand it, too lazy, but day 2, really? And net decking at like 20-25% of decks? Well, that's not what you want to see at day 2 of expansion. And what are the bad things about it? Well, Arena gets a bit screwed, and once the, let's say, opening hype around the expansion lower and less people will play Arena, we will see how shitty it will become. And people even a lot of streamers were complaining at the end of the season that everything is stale, even Arena is stale because people are saving for the new expansion and these things. This will happen not 2, 3, 4 weeks before the new release, but probably 2 months before the new release. And Hearthstone devs, I think there will be 3 small releases this year, and they will have to do it every 3 or 4 months. 4 months at maximum, probably 3 months. And simply in order to make everything fresh. And they will have to release like 60 new cards, maybe 50 new cards, in order to make it fresh. Every 3 months. Otherwise, the Arena will get stale because the same people will play the same thing. The difference between the bad decks and the new decks is once again greater. There will be all the decks will be more or less the same. You can see it right now that there are like 3, and in Ranked there are like 3 decks which dominate everything. There is the Rogue, the Quest Rogue. There is the Quest Warrior, which is the taunt one, which has some alternations, of course, and there is the Mage Quest, which has very little alternation because it's quite packed, and very, very occasional Priest. Well, I think I stated everything I wanted. The new expansion is good in its early stages, but it only spells, I think that if this is the best they could come up with, it only spells doom for Hearthstone in the long term. Hearthstone is a very popular game, and I like it. I liked it a lot more in the vanilla. I liked it a lot more actually even in GVG. I have not ceased my likeness of the Hearthstone game decreased over time with every single new expansion. At the old gods, it probably renewed to the GVG point, yet right now I am very skeptical about it. And maybe the wild format will be the savior of Hearthstone, but I firmly believe that in order to save Hearthstone in general, there will have to be some new events. There will have to be some new things to do, and the devs have to make them. Otherwise, the game will be dead in 2 years, and that's not what they want. Blizzard wants to milk their franchises until they can. So, I hope that you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.